Good afternoon and welcome to the University Human Rights Center, Antonio Papisca. This is the university structure, design and dedicated to disseminate human rights advocacies and also the research and teaching related to the human rights and environmental sustainability. So for us at Human Rights Center, we are very honored and pleased to have you, Mansoor, as our guest for today. Not only because it's the first time you are spreading this your voice and this issue in Italy, but also because nowadays the Guantanamo background, that is the detention centers where all rights are suspended since they are not formally set in a country, it is an ongoing practice. So they started there since 21, but then this practice is spreading around, even including Europe. That's why it is urgent. What is happening there? Why is it's still operating? And what can we do to close Guantanamo and all the other Guantanamos that are spreading around? So thanks to students that are involved in the advocacy hub, without their support, or organizational and also financing support, this event won't be possible. So thanks both of you. The floor is yours. And I wish you to get inspirations to take part of the actions. So our events are not designed to move out as we are entering in. After our events, we expect you to recharge the power to fight against the system. Thank you.
So thank you, Professor Lanzavecchia. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. I am Alessandra. I am a co-founder and member of the Advocacy Hub and a student of this master in Human Rights Multi-Level Governance. And I would like to extend our thank yous to the Human Rights Center, Antonio Papisca, and of course to Mr. Mansoor Adayfi for joining us here today to present his book, his memoir, Don't Forget Us Here, Lost and Found at Guantanamo. This book was met with critical acclaim with reviews from the New York Times, from The Guardian, The Washington Post, The Los Angeles Times, and so on. So before we begin our conversation, I would like also to express my gratitude to Professor De Perini that always supports us in this project effortlessly, and to the staff of the Human Rights Center that every time accompanies us in this adventure. Thank you for your continuous guidance. And I will now leave the floor to Sabaeta for further introduction.
Thank you, Ale. Hello, everyone. I'm Sabaeta, and I'm also part of the Advocacy Hub. But for those of you that come here for the first time, what is this Advocacy Hub? As Ale said, it's a student-led initiative. It's a space that, with the support of Professor De Perini, we created almost 2 years ago with a simple idea to give students a platform where we can explore human rights issues that we don't always have time to delve into deeply during our classes. It's meant to be a flexible and open space for all of you to come to talk to each other, to learn, for activism, somewhere that students can bring topics that they care about, ask questions, and connect with human rights defenders and with people working in this field. Through seminars, workshops, and public events, we try to encourage critical thinking, create dialogue, and promote concrete engagement, like Professor Lanzavecchia said, with human rights challenges, both locally and globally. Over the past 2 years, we've discussed a wide range of topics, from freedom of expression in Belarus to citizenship rights in Palestine and the role of universities in protecting human rights defenders, among others. I think this is enough to get to know us a little bit. And if you have other questions, you can reach out to us in the end. And I will leave the floor to Sarah.
Thank you very much, Saba. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here tonight. And my name is Sara, and I'm a first-year student of the master's program in Human Rights and Multi-Level Governance. And I've also very recently joined the Advocacy Hub. I'm particularly enthusiastic about its horizontal structure, and this is my first event with them, so I'm just as excited as you are. And without further ado, I would like to kickstart the discussion and leave the floor to our guest, Mansoor Adayfi, to introduce himself. So the floor is yours.
Oh, mashallah, all of them, huh? Okay, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. So, yeah, that's nice. That's good. So I'd like to welcome you all for coming tonight. This is really a special treat to me because also I have traveled for a long time for a long distance to meet you. Oh, introduce myself. I am 2-in-1. So before I start, I'd like to give you a special welcome from Yemen. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يا هلا ومرحبا مرحبا حياكم الله أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا مليون. So, as a Yemeni and a tribal man, this is how Yemenis tribal greet each other. It is really warm, emotional, and so on. And imagine someone meet you, Yemen, Salam alaikum. So it means peace be upon you. So you are safe. I am Mansoor Adayfi. Also, I am Gitmo 441. Also, I'm a smile travel maker. Also, I am the worst of the worst, believe it or not. I'm a Yemeni, a former Guantanamo detainee where I spent around 15 years, alhamdulillah, without trial charges. This is me. Today, I am not the one who is going to talk to you. I will let Gitmo 441 to talk to you. And when 441 talks, it wears this orange suit, which is a piece from Guantanamo, where I wore almost for 15 years. And I think all of you are familiar with that color. A beautiful color, which is also suffer a lot of abuse and injustice. And I believe that all colors are beautiful and belong to us all. So with that, I will leave it here. And I will be talking to you as Gitmo 441. I usually wear this. Do you want to wear it? But I will keep this tonight. So let's start. Thank you so much for coming. And please, if you have any question, this is your moment. Don't hesitate to ask me questions. Don't worry. So you won't be charged, I promise.
Okay, so now we'll get started with our questions, if that's okay for you. Okay, and I will ask you the first question. So, can I call you Mansoor? Can we go with that?
Okay.
Okay. So, Mansoor, you were imprisoned in Guantanamo at a very young age, at a time when most people, like all of us here in this room, were just beginning to imagine the future, how your life would be. And instead, you faced tremendous, extraordinary circumstances that reshaped your life and ultimately led you to become a figure of resistance inside the prison. In your book, you mentioned that the system was designed to strip us of who we are. Even our names were taken, as you just mentioned. Would you like to share with us who Mansoor was before becoming prisoner 441? And what led you to embrace then the role of resistance within Guantanamo? Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Life before Guantanamo. I grew up in a rural area in Yemen, mountainous countryside, a very conservative tribal family. My father is the head of the tribe, and my mother, daughter of the head of the tribe. So where I grew up, there was no electricity, no running water, of course, no social media. It was a long time ago. So my village was my world. So moreover, what struck me today, sorry to jump there, when I visited Padua University, I cried today because you are guys, I'm jealous because Yemeni education system started in the 1970s. The first time we have education schooling system in Yemen. So my father was the first person to send my daughters, my sisters to school. It was debate, you know. Going to school was 12 kilometers every single day, walk back and forth. Going to have water, we need to walk for 6 kilometers on our backs, on donkeys, and so on. And I remember the first day, I studied home. You know, my father, my sister, my brother taught me, you know, reading, basic math. So on the first time, my mom said, okay, we have to go to school, enrolling, and so on. And that was the first time when my mom asked me to wear the shoes. I never wear shoes. A village just like crazy, you know, in the mountains. So when I said, Mom, I cried. I said, I don't want to. Like, you have to, people will laugh at us. What's wrong with your son? You have to look good, your teachers. When I wore them, I guess I couldn't walk. I was like a duck. I cried. I said, I don't want to wear them. My mom, like, you have to. So I woke, my sister told me, listen, wear them. When we leave the village, I'm going to take them and put them in my bag. So that was the deal. When I showed up at the school, you know, there was like students in line, you know, they have like a morning program. And there was one of the teachers, he had a stick. He came and he hit me. Like, go in the line. I immediately grab a stone and I throw it at him, like just like that. And my sister, my brother, like, don't do it, don't do it. And I said, I swear, if you do it again, I'm going to break your head. You know, like this mentality, I'm just like a kid from a village, not a bad, he's very strict, but he attacked me first. So I threw a stone at him. He went to attack again, and I said again. So the head of the school came, who's your father? I said, I am the son of Ahmed, you know, like the tribe people, like, I'm Ibn Ahmed Saad, like that way. Because this is how, you know, being a son or daughter of a head of the tribe, no, that's tough life, strict life. You are raised to be a face of the family and tribe. Oh, I said, I know your father. That's fine. Like your father is, so they put me in the school and so on. So I back and forth with my sister going to the school now for years. Finished secondary school, elementary, then secondary school. When we finished the secondary school, we didn't have high school. So my sister was crying because I'm going to live with my aunt in the city, Sana'a, so I can continue my high school. And my sister, she had to wait because she cannot go live in the city with my aunt because my father won't allow it. So I went to the city. Oh, there was a funny story I'd like to tell you. So being in the village, my father and my brother used to go to the market, which is twice a week, you know. It's a long distance to another big village where there's like market. And my father said one day, we're going to take Mansoor. He's a man now. We're going to take you to the to see the market. I was super excited. I have been collecting money. I'm going to buy gifts for my mom. I love my mom so much. I'm going to buy that, buy this, you know. We went on our BMW, sorry, in our donkey. It's like a BMW. We have two donkeys. So my father said, okay, you need to, you know, lead the donkey to the market. In a distance, I saw something loud, scary, big. I was, like he's far away talking to other people while going to the market. And I saw something approaching, very loud. Again, I went on the hill, I grabbed rock and I started throwing at that beast. All of a sudden, the beast stopped and a man came with the button like, what? I was throwing rock at the car. for the first time I saw that car, I thought that was the beast my mom told me the stories. I swear by my God, I never saw a car in my life. And I was throwing rocks, I broke the glass, and the guy came out so mad, so angry. He wants to beat me. And I said, if you come closer, I'm going to. I was confused. What's that? So my father came. I was like, who's your father? Again, my father is son of, or my father came. What did you do? What did you do? I said, nothing. And the negotiation calmed down. We're not going to do anything. So the guy came down. He said, throw the rock. I said, no, throw the button from your hand, you know. He said, you have to throw the rock. I said, I'm not doing it. Anyway, we ended up having a negotiation, my father. Then that guy was nice. He came to show me the, like, this is a car. This is not a beast. How we drove it. So I was so embarrassed. Later on, when I grew up, he used to call me, do you want to go on the beast? So that was really a simple life. It wasn't confiscated or sophisticated or so on. The first time I arrived at the city, you know, Sana'a city is the capital of Yemen. I saw the lights, the building, the people, the cars, the signs, you know, the board, the posts. I was like, I couldn't sleep that night. I remember I went to my aunt, turning on in and on the light. It was something magical. Going behind the TV to say, where this come from? Where's the people? Yeah. When I remember these moments, you know, someone who never exposed to that, and for the first time ever in the city. So this is who I was in the city. So in the city, alhamdulillah, with Sana'a, I finished my high school, and I still learning a lot. You know, I was very curious person, talking to the people. I wasn't shy or just going to everywhere. Somewhere there was a special place where I was arrested and sent to the police. And the police guy, he said, what are you doing in that building? I said, I'm curious. He said, where are you from? I said, you're from a village. He said, you start laughing. He said, just go home. Don't do this again. So alhamdulillah, when I finished my high school, you know, that was a turning point in my life. You know, I could see how happy was my mother, my father, my sister also. Later on, they built a school in the village. He was so happy and so much. She was behind. So, in short words, this is my life before Guantanamo. Took long, right? Yeah, of course.
Just to continue on that, would you like to tell us a little bit about your journey then to Afghanistan?
Yeah. So many people ask the same question, like, what were you doing in Afghanistan and why? And this is a legit question, right? So, because people, I got always told, you must have done something wrong. You know, you must be, you must be where you be something or whatever, or part of something. And some people will punish us for the rest of our life. Americans punish us for 15 years, or some people that will punish you for the rest of your life because you were in Guantanamo or because of the stigma. So to answer that question really briefly, when I was explained to Daniel today, when he asked me, you see how the media, and it's actually what it does, media, it shapes our mindset, our way of thinking. It distracted us if we do not pay close attention to what was going on there. So when we talk about Guantanamo, we just look 9/11 and onward, right? But basically, to really understand what happened, we need to revisit before Guantanamo. The United States involvement in Afghanistan in the 1980s, the support of Mujahideen, who they call terrorists now, they were allies with the United States. They were actually hosted at the White House and called freedom fighters, right? When the Soviet Union collapsed, as you know, United States emerged as a solo superpower, led to Iraq invaded Afghanistan, Kuwait, and also before that, Al-Qaeda was created in the 1980s. In the 1990s, you know, Osama bin Laden the founder of Al-Qaeda, went back to Saudi Arabia because he didn't want to involve in the civil war in Afghanistan. When Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, Osama bin Laden wrote to the Saudi king. He said, "Do not invite the Americans. I can bring 70,000 fighters to fight against Saddam." And he said, "I can bring all my father equipment. We can build ditches and so on." But the plan was bigger than that. Saudi eventually invaded the Americans who came to Arab Peninsula. And Osama bin Laden, from a religious perspective, said, no, they cannot be on Arab Peninsula, because this is an occupation. This is where it started now. Yesterday, sweethearts become enemies. So he started writing to the Saudis, criticizing them. Osama bin Laden was stripped of his citizenship and was expelled to Sudan. There, he settled down there and started, farming, building bridges, roads, and so on. And again, he was criticizing the Saudi government. The Saudi wanted to take him from Sudan. He ended up going back to Pakistan, where he reactivated Al-Qaeda after the Taliban took over. And in 1996, he announced a global front to fight against Crusaders and Jewish. This is what funded Al-Qaeda, basically. Targeting the United States, his view was, I'm targeting the head of the snake. So, and now the war started between a single person and a country, Osama bin Laden and the United States. He attacked Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, also attacked in Saudi Arabia, Al-Khobar. The United States government reacted. They bombed Sudan. They bombed Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden reacted. He bombed the U.S. call in Yemen. Here I come from. This is where it started with me. So, and again, at that time during Bill Clinton, he also bombed Afghanistan, and he bombed Afghanistan. Yes. So Osama bin Laden became a hero at that time, a man who was fighting against the United States for some country, for some people, and so on, especially oppressed people. And the focus was, on these two, United States and Osama bin Laden. That's it. That's how it started. After that led to 9/11. After U.S. call, now, the Saudi government, Yemeni government, asked one of the scholars, one of the institute in Yemen, one of the most influential scholars in Yemen, to write a book about Al-Qaeda and Taliban and the rise and new ideology about and so on. So the head of the institute where I was study and work at the same time tasked one of his students, who was also one of the people who fought against the Soviet Union, who know Afghanistan, he had a lot of connections and so on. So I was tasked with him just to help him. I was the guy who carried the bags. That's it. We had official recommendation from the Yemeni government, because going at that period, if you go to Afghanistan, you will be either interrogated, arrested, or will be watched. Because also the United States started following the Mujahideen, where they were in Afghanistan, where Bosnia, where all other places. By the time the Yemen established counter-terrorism forces funded by the United States. And I was asked to join, but I refused, because it's not us as a military. I'm like, fathers, it's beneath us. This is how I look at it at that time. So at that time, they were also classification and for kind of terrorism. Even before 9/11, they started in Yemen as like counter-terrorism forces. I remember also there was also a drill between the Yemeni army and the special forces and the American army, how to take over a mountain occupied by terrorists. That before 9/11, believe me. So, they also established a new intelligence agency in Yemen called National Security. We have the political security and the national security. What was, surprising, all the people who deemed Mujahideen, or they call them terrorists, they were freed in Jordan, in Saudi Arabia, in Yemen. There was some kind of movement. So back to my case, we were tasked to go to Afghanistan, to do a research about Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and the new group. I remember at that time there was no social media, there is no Google, there is no anything like this. In order to write a book, you have to go physically. And there is a lot of, it's not just theoretical. In order to debunk or to have like really constructive criticism, you have to have fact. You have to have, you have to know their argument, where they come from, especially from the religious perspective. So Pakistan, Afghanistan, we arrived at the Yemeni embassy. They said you have to coordinate with the Pakistani government. We coordinate with them. They talk to Taliban. Taliban allow us in. Again, we were interrogated by the Taliban, by Al-Qaeda, confiscated our force. It wasn't an easy job. So that was my mission to Afghanistan. I will leave you when I arrive in Afghanistan. Question. Should I continue? Do you want me to continue?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to bore you guys because if I start, I can't stop. Say hi to your kids, please. Say hi to your kids. So, when we met with the Al-Qaeda guys, and they also interrogate us, who are you, what are you doing here? They confiscate our passports, security check, and so on. I said, we would like to meet some people. I had my camera, our camera. We had a recorder. It's not a smartphone. We have like the Walkman, the big one with the batteries. And I had my notebook, which is, the American killed me with the notebook. I have a notebook, which is names, a lot of names. I think the names I cannot say, but you already know who the names on the top. We have phone numbers, we have places, we have, anyone we can, we don't know where to start because you are going to a country you don't know. I mean, my friend, he has a lot of connections, but also at the same time, people were arrested and you'll be a suspicious person. So it's also traveling. Arriving in Afghanistan, there was no communication, no electricity, Taliban banned TVs. So it was just traveling back 1,000 years back. Our contact point in Afghanistan was a Saudi charity organization. Imagine. So in short words, the Saudi charity organization, the institute in Yemen, were also just Saudi front intelligence. That's it. This is the truth. I learned that 10 years later in Guantanamo. So we were working with some people unintentionally without knowing. It's just institute, charity organization. But the truth, they were Saudi intelligence front. So, and they told us, where to go and whom to talk to and so on. We thought they would give us advices. Anyway, 9/11 happened. Fast forward, we were told to leave Afghanistan as soon as possible by the Saudi charity organization. And from there, they had a lot of logistic stuff. What's come? Medicine, blankets, money, food, you name it. They asked us to help. I said, okay, why not? They said, you can take the stuff to the hospital, take the car, and get back and leave Afghanistan with the car. We said, fine. At that time, after 9/11, the CIA starts buying loyalties. Anyone who can turn, it's intelligence work, sabotage, money, and so on. One of the checkpoints, we were stopped by one of the warlords with the Taliban. They were interested just in the car, a Toyota blue, beautiful car. I will never forget that car. So they said, just get out. When we got out, we are going to take the medicine to the hospital and so on. Anyway, you read the story in the book. So, and from there, we were taken by one of the warlords. Then American airplanes started throwing leaflets. Now, the game is bigger. If you bring Al-Qaeda, if you bring Taliban, you will get rewards. So another warlords came, took me, and I will stop here and we'll continue. So, sorry.
Actually, our next question would send us to Guantanamo. So I don't know if you wanted to continue with your journey, or do you want us to, or do you wanted to show?
Yeah, we can go to Guantanamo. So before we start in Guantanamo, so I know, guys, I interrupted your program. This is what I do always with people. No. So before we start at Guantanamo, I'd like you to listen to this video by one of the Guantanamo lawyers. You know, his name is Clive Smith. He's one of the prominent lawyers, one of the very first lawyers to arrive at Guantanamo. He has worked in hundreds of cases. Because no matter what I said, he's the lawyer. I need you to listen to him, then we can take it from there.
Like you said, the evil, worst and worst terrorists in the world. We have so far cleared or removed from there 768 of those people. And to get them out of Guantanamo, we have to convince all 6 of the top American intelligence agents, the FBI, all these other people, that these people are no threat to anyone. And so in all of those 768 cases, the US powers that be have admitted they were wrong. It's not me saying it, it's them saying it. And that's a 98.46% error. They got it from 98.5% of the time. I was flying to Guantanamo one time on British Airways, and I asked the stewardess on the plane, would you take an aircraft that arrived at the wrong airport at 98.5% of the time, or perhaps crashed 98% of the time? And she said, no, it's horrific. This is the problem we deal with when we forget about due process and human rights. We forget how incredibly bad the government is getting the people that they say are so bad.
Okay, so this is Clive Smith here from the who actually represented hundreds of men of Guantanamo. So Guantanamo, what's Guantanamo? Guantanamo is one of the Guantanamo is one of the biggest cases in the 21st century, literally, no exaggeration. Because if you look when it was created, how it was created, and it's still continuing till today, and also the most secretive prison in the world, and the most expensive one. Imagine $440 million to keep that detention running, not the military base. We are talking about the detention or the prison. Next year will be $640 million to keep that place open. So around 800 men and children, all Muslims, were taken to Guantanamo from around 50 nationalities, more than 20 languages spoken. Only 5% were captured by the Americans. The rest were sold, like my case. When I was sold to the, not this one. Sorry, we have a lot of files. Yeah. So I'd like to show a photo, and I'd like to look please closely at this one. I hope I have it. Yeah. So you see that guy in the middle, Smiley? That's what they call him, Smiley troublemaker. This photo was taken in 2015. I was sold to the Americans or to the CIA to be Al-Qaeda commander and 9/11 insider at age of 18 years old. Imagine. Do you mean what does it mean? Like, forget about Al-Qaeda commander. We are talking about 9/11 insider, meaning I was there. I was one of the people who planned that. So this kind of a people. In his book, the president of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, wrote and admitted that he sold around 260 people to the Americans because he needed hundreds of millions of dollars. People were brought from Bosnia, from Mauritania, from United Arab Emirates, from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, from Iran, from Saudi Arabia, from different parts of the world. That was after the United States launched what's called a global war on terror and give themselves the authority to police the world. Out of that, they created Guantanamo outside of the law, outside of the justice system, outside of our humanity. So Guantanamo, where is Guantanamo? Guantanamo is around 45 mile part of Guantanamo City in Cuba. So Guantanamo is a Cuban city, as you know. In 1903, the United States rented part of that city where they built a naval station, a military base. Inside that military base is a detention or a prison. I cannot, and I don't think it is right to call it a detention or a prison, because when you talk about detention or prison, it is part of the justice system, but there is no system at all. So, and before Guantanamo, whatever we say about Guantanamo, there was worse than Guantanamo. And I needed to Google that later. CIA black site. So when I was taken first to the CIA black site, where I spent around 3 months. The 3 months I spent in the CIA black site does not compare to what happened during my 15 years in Guantanamo. I cannot compare that, really. So the CIA created these black sites around the world where they render people, basically taking people or kidnapping people, imprison them, torture them, and kill them. So, and before we start, I should have mentioned that at the beginning, which we talk about the language, which is really a big part of how the oppressor or how the political system abuse power. It started with the language. So, for example, CIA rendition program, it was a kidnapping program. Anyone could be taken and sent to CIA black site, interrogated, maybe died, and hundreds of people taken. Some of them died there. And I have one of the cases. You should read about it here. I will show his photo later. So, should I jump the language? So the CIA also, when they were interrogating us, they contracted 2 psychologists. Can you show those guys? So they contracted 2 psychologists to develop an interrogation program called Enhanced Interrogation Technique. So see. So these 2 psychologists, and I need to read about them, were contracted by the CIA. They paid $81 million to develop what they call enhanced interrogation technique. You just Google that, enhanced interrogation technique. So the language is torture program, but they call it enhanced interrogation technique. Detainees, basically what they called us in Guantanamo, because when Guantanamo was created, they said these terrorists of the worst don't have any rights. Geneva Convention does not apply. American law doesn't apply. International law doesn't apply. So basically we have no right. This is Guantanamo. And keep on, please.
Thank you. You argue in your memoir that Guantanamo's raison d'etre is not security, but rather control, and that it functions as a blueprint, as a laboratory for interrogation and a theater for exclusion. So the question is, in this era of human rights regression, what precedent has Guantanamo set for other states? And how does the model of indefinite detention and black site interrogation endanger human rights worldwide?
So, yeah. Yeah, about Guantanamo. When Guantanamo was created, the George W. Bush administration told the world the people who did 9/11 are occupying cells in Guantanamo Bay. So the mission was to he said, either bring them to justice or bring justice to them. So his mission was to bring justice to people to 9/11, right? and to get rid the world from terrorism and killing and so on. When we arrived there, we were taken to the first Camp X-ray, where we were not allowed to stand, we were not allowed to talk, we weren't allowed even to look at the guards. Just cages, cement and cages, makeshift cages. There is no protection from sun, from the heat, from the rain, absolutely. Only interrogation, day and night. When I was transferred to Guantanamo, I had a sign around my neck, big one called "Beat Me." So they beat me all the way. Arriving at those Guantanamo, they have something called the process station. Again, you see the beautiful name, it's a process station. Basically, when you go through the process station, you get beating, anal search was the worse than anything, and during that, they keep asking question over and over again. When they finished, I was dragged to one of the cages, and they threw on me I was hooded, gagged, and as you see in the photos, the photo there printed one of the former detainees there. This is how we arrived at Guantanamo, hooded, gagged. And from there, you will be taken to the interrogation room. First of all, start with the CIA team, FBI team, Homeland Security, military intelligence team after team. And that will take days, interrogation. They were looking for information that would save Americans. They were asking about dirty bombs, uranium, nuclear bombs, and so on. Remember in these moments when we arrived there, you could see ocean of orange people in these suits. Swollen faces, split lips, they shaved all bodies, even our eyebrows and so on. And there was fear. There was, they couldn't talk. Remember when I was throwing rock at the car at my teacher? I am the same personality. My childhood actually was a big part of my surviving Guantanamo. When I arrived there, I was like, what's going on here? I need to pray. I have a Danish neighbors. Brother, please don't talk. I said, why? And the guy, shut the fuck up. Like I don't know what he's saying. I don't know, yeah, blah. I was talking to him in Arabic. Shut up. Like, what does mean shut up even? They brought the dog FCA team. And I was like, okay, I just, that didn't make any sense to me, to be honest with you. I wasn't it wasn't courage. It was almost, it didn't make any sense. Like, I'm not gonna do this. And the more you resist, the more you got beating. And my brother told me, just pretend that he literally said, they want to tame you. They want to break you, basically. I said, okay, I'm not going to accept that. I'm not chicken. Especially as someone who is like a proud tribe man, I think Islam understand this. I rather die than take humiliation. Like, no, I won't take that. I won't take that. So, taken, I will change Shankar. Not just me, there is other prisoners too. This was the first days at that place. So Guantanamo, I don't want to go in details because she's asked about how Guantanamo became a blueprint. So as you see, Guantanamo was created out of the legal system, outside the law, not by accident, it's intentional. George W. Bush administration had no intention to follow human rights or to give us or to get through the legal process. The mission just bring you there, and until today, we didn't know what was the purpose. There was a million questions every phase. Later on, there, at the beginning of Guantanamo, there was two generals. One of them, his name is General Mike Leonard. I remember that man. He said, look, I don't know what's going to happen to you because after we went on hunger strike, he said, but I will make sure that you guys will be treated as prisoners of war. I remember for the first time I heard this word. That man was kicked out of Guantanamo 1 month later. And guess who was brought to Guantanamo? You know, I'd like you to look at this face and tell me if you know him. Do you know this guy? The name already there. The first time I remember that man, the first day when he arrived at Guantanamo, he was walking with the entire squad with him, looking at us. You know, as an Arab, as a Muslim, as someone, I'm not going to attack you or say nothing because you have done nothing. He was looking at us. Wallahi, the moment I look at his face, we feel there is something wrong. That General Jeffrey Miller arrived at Guantanamo to replace Mike Leonard. So when he arrived there, the first day, what he did when he assumed command, they came and searched us and they beat us, said dog on us. The one we were resisted, they took our clothing, like leave us naked. And the interpreter, they said, there's a new commander here now. He's assumed command. General Jeffrey Miller was the first person who wrote the camp SOP, Standard Operation Procedure. Sound sophisticated, right? Detainees, we call it shit on paper, SOP. So how we treated everything. And imagine that person was sent to Guantanamo by Dick Cheney. When he arrived at Guantanamo, he created, in the military chain of command, you communicate from rank to rank, right? I mean, he was the responsible or the detention commander. He should communicate to the base commander, to the southern commander, and so on. But what he did, he created direct channel communication with George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, and Rumsfeld. And that man, he was the first one who started developing the torture program in Guantanamo. Later on, he was sent to Iraq, and I think you already know what happened in Abu Ghraib. So what happened in Abu Ghraib, that man was behind that. He started that with us in Guantanamo. So anyway, we threw shit at him and urine and spat on him and so on. It was part of the resistance. So this is just a short introduction to our second why Guantanamo. So now, is Guantanamo prison? Is Guantanamo detention? No. Were we prisoners? No, we were not prisoners. Remember, I told you there was around 15 nationalities, more than 20 languages spoken. Guess, how old was the youngest prisoner in Guantanamo? The one who knows, don't answer. Like how old and how old do you think the older prisoner and how young the youngest one? Okay, 15. Huh? So to save the time, there was around 60 children with us in Guantanamo, as young as a few months old as 105 years old. So they brought a baby with his father. When they were sold the baby, the Americans were told this baby related to Osama bin Laden. So they brought him with the man. They kept the baby at the hospital, and the father was detained with us. This man, this is one of the hardest moments in Guantanamo, being in a cage, and that man is neighbor, 105 years old. When you're in prison with someone at that age, just you think about your grand or grandfather, doesn't have teeth, barely talk, barely hear, barely see. And he was treated just like the worst of the worst. So I was fighting with the guards not to treat him that way. Of course, they took me to solitary confinement. So that's one of the hardest moments, seeing children beating assaulted, and so on, and also the oldest. That scenery, I took the moment, I said, I will never stay silent, no matter what. Like after what happened, I could take the pain, but seeing someone else get hurt, I can't. So from that point, I started, and others also started doing the same thing. It wasn't something that was the moment of the resistance. So this is one of the reasons. Now, back to what you want? No, document. Yeah. So I don't want to talk a lot about the purpose of Guantanamo. So the United States, the Department of Defense, they found an opportunity in Guantanamo. They already have the specimen, the sample. They said, okay, we need to study these people. So Guantanamo was just a lab, and please read this research by Seton Hall Law School, one of the prestigious university in the United States, which is called Guantanamo America's Battle Lab. There is a QR code you can scan. So this research was published by psychologists, lawyers, former guards, which actually how Guantanamo actually wasn't a prison, wasn't in jail. It just was an experimenting lab on prisoners. Everything was done under the supervision of psychologists, consultants, advisors, and so on. We were divided in different camps, different set of rules. And remember, our job there just to react the way whatever they threw at us. So that's what we did. We didn't know. We just react, and they wanted that exactly. So this is one of the things I really want you to read and to understand the mission of Guantanamo. Also, at the same time, Guantanamo now is a symbol of injustice, lawlessness, abuse of power, which become a blueprint. And many countries now you need to label someone as a terrorist. Then you can torture them, you can abuse them, you can indefinitely detain or imprison them, deprive them of their right, and so on. If the boss of the United States could do that, so why not? You cannot have both. You cannot claim that you're a democratic country, you have rights, freedom, bullshit, whatever, and you have Guantanamo on the other hand. You cannot have both. So what is the message the United States wants to tell the world by keeping Guantanamo open? What's the message? We are above the law. Simply, we can do whatever we want. When Trump was running for White House in 2016, I was in Guantanamo watching. He said, I will keep Guantanamo open and fill it with bad dude. And I wrote a letter to him at that time. It was published in my second book. You can, I'm marketing here. So my second book is titled Letters from Guantanamo. Is an audiobook. It was an audible. It was the best audiobook in 2024. Please listen to it. I'll leave a comment. And inshallah, it will publish a print in 2027. And next time we can have another event here. Just talk to Alberto to invite me again. As a student, see, I will take that. I love Padua, by the way, anyway, later. So I'm excited by that. So basically, I wrote a letter to Trump. I was like, I called him the orange clown. So in 2019, he suggested that undocumented migrant should be classified as enemy combatant and sent to Guantanamo. That what happened exactly. So, and I will give you just another story. For years, since I start working in Guantanamo basically, wallahi, I was saying always, one day Guantanamo will be built in the United States soil. Do you know when that happened? In June. Do you remember Ron DeSantis, Habibi? I call him Habibi Ron DeSantis, like means sweetheart Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis was in Guantanamo in 2006 one of the worst years in Guantanamo, where 3 of our brothers killed under the torture program. So when that happened, we were in hunger strike for years. I spent almost between 3 to 5 years on force feeding. Force feeding means they brought thick tubes and they shove it through our nose and so on. So in 2006, Ron DeSantis, he's now the governor of Florida. So when he arrived there, he came to us holding his notebook. Excuse me, how are you, sir? He said, I am here to make sure you guys are treated humanely and according to Geneva Convention. I swear he said that because we were at the hospital being force-fed. We were almost like 6 months on hunger strike. We were talking to him, that happened and so on. Imagine this man who said you're going to treat according to the human international law and so on. One night, they moved all of us to solitary confinement and they started the torture program. The second day, when that night when he came, there was a group of them. They took us in one of the solitary confinement block. They put us in the first feeding chair. They restrain us, our heads, our shoulders, our waist, our thighs, our legs, and they brought wall of cases of liquid nutrition called Ensure, and they start pouring one after another. So our stomach were really small, and imagine that liquid came in your stomach. We couldn't breathe. So he came along with the camp commander, cultural advisor, and other medical staff. They're watching us. He was smiling. While force feeding me, my stomach couldn't hold it, so I started throwing up. When they were standing there, I intentionally aimed at them. So I cut through the shrub. Wallah, he was standing there like that. He was, wearing the cap, sunglasses, and looking. I was like screaming. When I threw up, I just toward him. He was just jump back, take the sunglasses, the hat, and that's the most beautiful scenery I saw. Seeing afraid, scared, holding the glasses, looking disgusted. So later on, he later on was sent to Iraq, to be a legal advisor for the SEALs team in Fallujah. I think all of you know what happened in Fallujah. So that man was in Guantanamo in Fallujah. This year, in June, Donald Trump, the Secretary of Homeland Security, that awful lady, and Ron DeSantis, they opened alligator Alcatraz, modeled after Guantanamo. Cost $450 million. And you know what happened to the prisoners there, the migrants, actually, they called them the same language. So how Guantanamo become a blueprint? The same language that we use after the global war on terror, the worst of the worst, enemy combatant, invaders, that language that we use against us as Muslims now is implementing and use. It become inward. That was used outside the United States. Now it become inside the United States. People were kidnapped from the streets, detained. Guantanamo now was built. And the man who built it was actually in Guantanamo, Ron DeSantis. So what the story finished with Ron DeSantis. In 2022, I was on Twitter and I saw his photo. I sent it to my lawyer. I said, I know this man. I took his photo and I put it on the former Guantanamo detainees WhatsApp chat group. I need to see if anyone would recognize him. Like, son of a bitch, motherfucker, that piece of trash. Because in Guantanamo, we curse a lot because it's just part of the process there. I found there is 4 other former Guantanamo detainees recognize him. So I tweeted about him. Then in 2023, I was contacted by the Washington Post by one of the former soldiers called I Left. We did a podcast. Then I wrote an article about him. Also with the Democracy Now! I had a long interview with him. Then we did a documentary with Vice, about him. The same journalist who came to interview me went to Jerusalem when he had a conference there. He asked him about me. He said, there's a detainee, he said, he remember you? No, this is PS. How could you remember me? And so on. So the documentary, after 3 hours, it was aired in Paramount, was canceled. And the New York Times published entire article attacking me because what I said about Ron DeSantis. They never contacted me. They never talked to other former Guantanamo detainees. They just said I was making things up. So this is the story with the Ron DeSantis and Guantanamo. So Guantanamo actually now gives some kind of, I'm not going to say legitimacy because there's no legitimacy behind that. It gives some kind of encouragement and support for people who want to violate the international law, who want to commit those violations and target innocent people, whether activists, dissents, and so on. So Guantanamo, it wasn't about Muslims. It targets us all as a human being. And I can tell you, I'm not here to claim we were the only victims. Even in Guantanamo, there were guards and campus staff who were targeted because they either refused to follow orders or they were obstacles. For example, General Jeffrey Miller, when he was in Guantanamo, when he started developing the torture program, there was a guy, I don't think I have his photo here, but there was one of the army captain, his name is James Yee. He opposed to General Jeffrey Miller policies. He told them, no, you cannot do this. You know what happened to Captain James Yee? He was arrested, accused of espionage. They put him in orange jumpsuit and classified him as enemy combatant. Imagine if they could do this to army captain. A man came to Guantanamo to serve his country. What they could do as you are no one to them. You're just a number. Dehumanization and demonization. So this is the mission of Guantanamo. When I told you Guantanamo, one of the biggest cases in the 21st century, it is because Guantanamo is not just in Guantanamo. Now it's almost everywhere. So maybe it could be embedded in prison system. You don't have to create the whole entire thing, just implement the policies there. Like, for example, the activists here, you see, the hunger strikers from Palestine Action. I knew these guys, between us, I'm helping with the hunger strike program and so on and so on. So we give them the expertise from Guantanamo to those hunger strikers. So you know what was going on in Gaza? These activists, some of them part of Palestine Action, when the British government prescribed Palestine Action as a terrorist group. So some of them, in their protests, they destroy some of the either airplane or they also one of the research military center in London. They were arrested under the terror law. Imagine, let us say what they did is a crime. How the relationship came to implementing the terror law to target activists? When they started being someone, let us say it is just a crime. No, it's not just a crime. So they are being now imprisoned without trial, being harassed. They went on hunger strike, and again they were punished, ignored, and harassed. Now today they are 40 days on hunger strike. 40 days. Simply they ask for justice. And this is Guantanamo. Guantanamo is not in Guantanamo. What else? Sorry.
Okay, if you agree, I would send us back a little bit to what you were saying before about resistance in Guantanamo and what you mentioned as Guantanamo culture, singing, storytelling, makeshift celebrations. I want to quote a little part of your book. You say, "We used spoons or twisted the tiny stems of apples to write poems, to draw flowers, hearts, and the moon. We made flowers out of stickers we found on fruit. These were tiny expressions of our former selves breaking through, resisting the identities imprinted on us. We took nothing and made something. And what's more human than that?" And as you can see in this room, we're very honored to have some of these art pieces displayed that you can also browse later. And I wanted to ask you, Mansoor, how did this creative activities serve as a form of resistance? And what role did they play in helping you and the other detainees or your other brothers there hold on to your identity inside of Guantanamo? Of course, have some water first.
Please, can you show that painting there? It's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one,
Yeah. Then we're going to show this one later. So resistance is my favorite topic. I resist, therefore I'm free, I'm alive. You know, what I learned in the prison in Guantanamo, you know, when I reflect sometimes, because when you're in the prison, you have a lot of time to reflect on anything. What makes us as a unique individual human being are those traits, you know, like our faith, belief, values, memories, knowledge, experience, relationship, emotions, language, names, and so on. That's what really makes you different from that person to that person. If, for example, if we take your memories, come show. If we take your experience and knowledge, if we take your emotion relationship, so what makes you really a unique individual? Those traits together. When we arrived at Guantanamo, we had nothing, literally naked. Even our names were taken away. Like even our hair was shaved. But they didn't know that what we were carrying. What makes you who are is not just your color or your, no, those traits that hold you together. So we started introducing ourselves to each other, because remember, in Guantanamo, we had no shared life before Guantanamo as prisoners. Imagine people arrived together, different language, different nationality, different mindset. So whatever we were carrying, we start sharing. You have a teacher, you have a doctor, you have a lawyer, you have a nurse, you have a mafia guys, you have drug dealers. Oh, you have people who used to work for the CIA agent were caught and brought. We had the entire squad that was sent to assassinate Osama bin Laden, and they brought to you are of kind of people. So now we started building a shared life together and memories, a relationship, a friendship, a brotherhood, and so on. So we start communicating first, then take it from there. You know, as Muslims, we pray together, and they were against that. That was act of jihad. Our hunger strike was act of jihad. Anything you do was act in jihad. So, like people, after first hunger strike, we were allowed to talk. So people were talking. Afghanis, Arabs, Russian, Germans, French, different languages. And for example, we have one of the chefs who used to teach us how to cook. And you can listen to the episode on Love Me on CBS. So like now we go to the market to check the fruit, the vegetables, whatever. Now you cook. Hey, say shh, like pretending there is like fire there and oil and so on. These classes were the worst during the hunger strike because we were on hunger strike and this guy teaches how to cook. And different classes about different topics. That's what we share, the knowledge and the experience we have together. And the more you stay in the prison, the more your brain will start constructing new now, a new relationship, and new memories, a new emotion, a new knowledge, a new experience. Everything relate to your environment. Okay, and this is important. In 2010, we spent almost 9 years either in separate cages or solitary confinement. In 2010, when they brought us together all of the sudden for communal living, I remember Giorgio from Romeo Block. There was no Joliet, only Romeo, by the way. So, he was on hunger strike. This is my memory. This is what I constructed. I remember him. He was tortured. He was on hunger strike. He was. So we thought when they opened the communal living, we have some freedom, but we were again on another circle of imprisonment, which is you now relive the past. So when I'm talking to you, Giorgio, we were talking about the hunger strike, the food, bad guard, good guards, what happened there. Talk about the funny moment. Talk about people who died, the people who left. That's what we have together. This is how we like connect, right? So, and one of the things we start doing, we started, you have nothing. We aren't allowed to have anything. So we had styrofoams, clamshells, and cups, and people used the stem of apple or plastic spoon to write or draw, like shape of the heart, of the sun, of stars. And every single thing you do will be taken in zip bags, your number, and that could be used as evidence against you. I remember one day they used to give us MRE. Do you know what's MRE? It's a military ready food. It was nasty. Like the thing they do is almost expired. So one day they brought tea powder, and inside the foil bag. So one of the detainees used the foil as a pen and put the powder and put in the start writing in a piece of toilet paper. When they found the letter that night, it was a state of emergency in the camp. They came, they took us, they stripped us naked. They said, you guys are planning to escape of Guantanamo. What he wrote was a poem because he missed his wife. Literally, I swear, by my God. So creativity wasn't allowed. What we did when we now moved to from Camp X-ray to Camp Delta, one night we had a night where we, sing in different languages, Arabic, English, Urdu, Farsi, and so on. One of the beautiful songs we used to sing, when they brought us to Guantanamo, who did, like the guy there, who did gag beating. Now we learned that when the new group would come, they would be like, cease movement, nobody moving, and there will be helicopters hovering over the blacks. So when we hear the rattling chain, because when they moved, the chain is being chained, you could hear chick, chick, chick for the chains. We would start in one voice. حبا حبا باللي جا باللي جا والله يا مرحبا باللي جا باللي جا. Imagine 250 detainees in one voice singing non-stop for almost like 30, 45 minutes. حبا حبا. Wallahi, it was scary. It was like a thunder. For the first time, guard, it was like state of emergency, closing, calling, blah, 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 door, shut up, shut up. Oh, shut up, shut up. You cannot silence us. Pepper spray, wherever. And the brothers who actually being hooded, gagged, they said, well, it's not that bad. People are singing. It might be like a summer camp. I remember one of the brothers, when he arrived, he spit on others because when he arrived, he said, I thought, guys, you are like in a cage. When they took him, they took the hood. What are you singing for? We said, we are welcoming you. So, the relationship, the brotherhood and the friendship, it was really important for the resistance. That song, they took it as a challenge. Wallahi, when we sing, we didn't mean to challenge. It just because we have nothing to do. So sometimes people sing at night. It was beautiful to hear someone sing in Pashto, in Arabic, in Urdu, in Farsi, in German. And there was like riddles and people dance in different things because that's how you distract yourself. This is what you do. And people giving classes either in grammar, in English, and so on. So there's how you try to survive that place. They have their own program in the camp there. They would have vacuums, generators. They had loud fans. They tried to silence you. But we kept. Before, I'm not going to jump now. Before 2009, 10, let's say, we weren't allowed to have pen and paper or anything, books or anything. In some blocks, what they did, Americans are not stupid. They are very smart, very smart. They created a phase of Guantanamo called Camp 4. Camp 4 were just for delegation, visitors, and journalists. So if you go to Camp 4, there was around 40 detainees, white clothing, they have TV, they eat together. Look how we treat these people. But in the blocks, there was around 600 people. Hunger strike, solitary confinement, beating, dogs, naked, whatever. So we, as some of us, because we created a group called the Red Eyes. It was intentional because what we did, when the one who was fighting back, they would take us to solitary confinement. So it was our joint point, or meeting points. So from there, we start fighting back. And the people who actually resist in Guantanamo, between age 15 and 25. I can tell you this. Not because, for example, I wasn't the strongest or the smartest, whatever. No. I was, I think I was impulsive to some extent, yeah. And I was the craziest, one of the craziest people. Trust me. We have people, PhD, doctors, lawyers. Sometimes the knowledge you have, it become your own restraints, your own chains. They will be targeted if they did anything because, based on your behavior, you are Al-Qaeda leader. So we took on ourselves, the brothers called out the Red Eyes. The camp administration, they have our forces, they call us the evils, the worst of the worst. So we started from there. And the resistance started with the simple things sometimes, the hunger strike, for example, it took us years to manage to organize bigger hunger strike. And I remember the first time the hunger strike, and come back say when we wanted to go on hunger strike because we were thinking, what should we do? We need to do something. Like fight, they would crush you. We already did that. We start throwing our stuff like the blankets, the stuff they give us, the bucket, and so on. They were laughing at us. Like, okay, do you want it? You cannot have it. They also punish us for food. So one day the brothers like, go on hunger strike. So what's hunger strike? They said, Gandhi and the Irish guys. Someone said, but the Irish guys died. But I don't want to die. So our hunger strike was 9 days. It was like, every day. I remember every single meal I didn't eat. I regretted that. The pain of hunger is, it just, you can't sleep, you cannot think, you can't, and I feel sorry for these guys here. Yeah, but we saw the result. Later on, I spent almost years and years on hunger strike because bearing the pain of hunger was easier than bearing the pain of the torture and the abuse and humiliation and being there. Also, sometimes we would achieve something. I couldn't just keep not doing nothing. Yeah, me and my brothers. So one of the things we used to also like sing, dance, challenge the guards, provoke the guards. One of the worst guards who came to Guantanamo were the Marines. Those tall guys, buff, strong, whatever. So when I used to walk between them, like tall guy, the brother was like 101. So the Marines, when they came to Guantanamo, they were talking to us, Detainee 441, do you want to eat? It was very provocative, like, shut up, don't talk like that. And we have one of the psychologists. He said, look, don't. Talk to him like, wait, excuse me, sir, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat? So now we start developing our psychological warfare with them. So, the Marines, they beat you, they slam you to the floor, to the ground, it treats you like nothing. So what we did, we used to, I'm sorry to say this, guys, but it's part of the resistance. Our feces, we used to throw it on the floor. And we called them room surface cleaning time. They have to clean no matter what. Sorry, now it's a way how to resist. You can utilize and use everything. The first time they refused to clean, and they have to clean because the new shift, because we have Army, Navy, Air Force, coast guards, all work shifts. So if the Marines refused to clean, then the Air Force, they said, we're not taking over. Now, when they start cleaning, room surface, call them and so on. So the moment they finish, we started the second portion. So the war said like between us. So in our blogs, it was shit for shit, respect for respect. Anyway, the Marines, eventually they saw the government and left Guantanamo. The government ruled in their favor to leave Guantanamo. In our blogs, the one that resistance took over, you can see the guards respected us. They hated us, but there is some respect. Like they know. What the American did, the people who refused to do anything, just complete silence, they took them to another blocks. You could see how humiliation they were treated. I remember one day when they took me to one of the blocks, they said by mistake, but it's one mistake. I could see the people, Allahu Akbar, our hero here, and when the guards start shouting at the brothers, like, detainee, come here. I was like, hey, you cannot talk like that because we are from different people. I could last for 30 minutes. So basically, it became your behavior, the silence, you chose not to do anything. Even now, I can tell you some of the people what's in the group, what happened. I'm sorry to say it, but this is important, guys. When the first time they sent migrants to Guantanamo, I wrote an article, then we wrote a letter from former Guantanamo detainees denouncing what happened there. I put that letter in the group. I said, brothers, please, anyone who would like to sign, add your name. Some of them, these 2 or 3 of them, Mansoor, why are you doing this? You caused a lot of trouble in Guantanamo. Now after Guantanamo, what do you want from us? This crazy Trump, wallahi, you could send us back to Guantanamo. Imagine that man, he was already 10 years was released, staying with the same mentality. So when you resist, it's not just you want to achieve justice for others. It's also for yourself, to protect yourself in the first place. So, yeah, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for being in Guantanamo, because Guantanamo has shaped me, forged me into someone. If I wasn't there, I want to be. Because for me, for my belief, I take it as a gift, believe it or not. So, and the art. In 2009, when, as you know, Obama signed an executive order to close Guantanamo, then he failed. So by the end, in 2009, now I become one of the detainees' leader, instigator. 441, 232, 242, 078. You hear these numbers, the guard knows exactly who we are. Not because we are strong, because we fight, we resist regardless. And they told him these guys are the top. So I remember when Obama signed the executive order, one of the generals came and he said, why are you on hunger strike? You are leaving. It's over. I said, no, if we learn something here, not to believe you. 3 months later, when he woke again, I said, hey, do you have any orders? Do you have any instructions? He said, no. And I told my brothers, I wish to be close, but I don't believe them. I don't trust them. By the end of 2009, one day, they came, 441, this guy, you have an appointment. What? Appointment. Now, before they would say reservation. Now the language changed. And they took us in one room, nice room, like 7 of us. We are not the typical people you bring us together. We are really troublemakers, the worst, instigators. We are the leading on everything. We're looking at what's going on here. And they brought us, they removed our handcuffs. Okay. And a group of officers came from the doors. Assalamu alaikum. Something is, we were looking at each other, what's going on here? Are we friends? Because this is the first time. When they used to move us, at least 5 guards move us. Pepper spray, being face shield, and so on. This time, okay, they start shaking hands with us. I told, you cannot do that. You will be punished. Because shaking hands in Guantanamo will be punished. You cannot shake hands with other detainees and so on, or with the guards. come on, guys. Okay, we said, okay, welcome, welcome. What's going on? He said, look, let us cut chase. Okay. We are being given instructions to improve the living condition in the camp. Okay. You know, for the first time, the negotiation started with the terrorists. Don't believe them. They said they didn't negotiate with terrorists. They negotiated with even with Satan himself. So we said, no, our case, we need justice. Why we are here? They said, look, no, we cannot talk. We have these orders just to talk about the living condition. Then before that, subhanAllah, Obama sent a delegation. They came and talked to us, and long story. So I was like, okay, what's going on? We were not prepared for that. We never imagined one day they would come talk to us like that. He said, you're a guy, think it changed. And, you know, the first, like, you're not going to go to the detention. They said, you know, no, there's now no orders, but we have orders to improve the living condition. Okay, I said, you know what? We cannot do nothing until we consult the brothers. We went to the blocks, you know, consultation. Anyway, long process, how things work there is another old story. We said, okay, we asked the brothers. And one day, believe me, the living condition improved upside down. Yesterday, they call it the worst. Second day, when we agreed on everything, living condition, communal living, and they started in 1 month TVs, newspaper, microwave, refrigerators, books, CDs, DVD players, PlayStations, phone calls, letters, books in 1 month. I'm like, is it a dream? No. So I said, I'm not moving from the blogs until everyone moved there. Just, you know, we have a plan also. We also develop our own how to deal with them, because when you fight for someone stronger, he will kick your ass, but you know how to deal with it at the same time. So, and the time they moved me to the communal living, when I went to the blog, when I saw the brother, I cried. Seeing them free, eating, watching TV. So we negotiate with them art class. They said, guys, you're a terrorist, you don't know how to paint. So I said, okay, we asked the brother to draw on pen and paper and send it to them. Negotiate, take time. So if you look here at this painting, bye-bye, see you. Show them your t-shirt. He has a nice t-shirt, just like me. Actually, we should thank, before we go, Georgie, please. He is the one who actually he brought me to this place with Alberto, though. Thank you so much. So if you look at that painting, look closely. That painting was painted in 2007. Remember, not 2010 after the negotiation. That painting, if you see secret here and crossed, and here authorized by GTF, Joint Task Force, Gitmo, Guantanamo, GDG, Joint Detention Group for ISIN. This is the detainee number 551. Here, his name, Sulaiman Awad Sulaiman bin Aqil al-Nahdi, a Yemeni detainee, Guantanamo, Cuba, and he signed it. 17 April 2007. Sulaiman, or 511, was in the interrogation room, and he told them, I am an artist. And his interrogator said, no, you're not an artist, you're a liar. He said, I'm an artist. They brought him a paper and colors. I said, paint something. You know, as someone, he painted for his interrogators flowers, a hand here, handing flowers to the interrogators. That painting was taken as a classified and secret. Do you see any reason to classified or such painting? And that painting is still in Guantanamo. In 2010, we managed, now we have the art class, we had the art teacher, and we start painting. There is a lot of painting there in Guantanamo. You can see them there. So this is how the art class. So the art, you know, what's beautiful about art, the thing we started paint, the things we missed most. Because being kept in solitary confinement for a long time, you miss the blue, beautiful sky. You miss, you know, looking at the tree or the fruit, whatsoever. So we started painting that. By painting, actually, art connected us to our memories, to our forgotten part of ourselves, to the world outside. You know, I could see some detainees would spend hours and hours just painting, getting there, calm down, you know, tears, secrets, memories, and so on. So that was the art's resistance. We are taking so long. So sorry, guys. And there was also like poems here, like no, what's like how we can show them. So there was poems, and I started when 2010. I started, yeah. So I started learning English. Then we got books, we got TV. I was just listening to the TV. And the brother would say, Mansoor, what's going on? I said, I'm just listening. So I started listening. I was going to the guard and asked them, teach me words, later get dictionaries. Then I wrote my first draft of the book from 2010, 2000. It was in Arabic. When I started speaking English, I translated from Arabic to English. The FBI confiscated my first draft in 2013 when they shut down everything. You know, the golden age didn't last for long. You know, from 2002, 2010, we call it the dark age. 2010, 2013, 2010, 2002, 2010 was the dark age. 2010, 2013 was the golden age. We had a lot, you know, and managed to write the book. It was confiscated. Anyway, in 2015, I wrote it as legal letters to my lawyer. And from there, we take it from there. So the art was a big part of the resistance. It's not just the resistance mean you fight against those. No, you resist against losing your humanity, losing who you are, connecting yourself to who you, because the moment you start losing part of who you are, you turn into something else. In my case, when I was fighting back, reacting to whatever they threw at us, you know, I went through a stage of fear, hate, anger, because sometimes, because nobody tells you what to do, what to expect. You just by yourself. So in 2006, when they killed three of our brothers and they tortured us badly, they had the administrative reviews for the first time. They took me and the generals. I didn't know I didn't know even what does it mean, reviews. I had no idea. I thought those generals, the same people who torture us. I went there, you know, F4, you will see when I come here, I will kill you all one by one. And you, and you, and you. They said, these guys are terrorist killers. You turn me into this. What do you expect me to say? I love you? No, I'm not that person. I would never say that. So they said, well, this is kind of person. This is what kind of people. And they published an article about me in the Washington Post. They said, wow, this guy, he's one of the worst of the worst. He said this. I wrote a statement, I think 13 pages in Arabic. And I was reading like this. And those you know, you could use that against me. You know, look what they said. But why I did this? I know what I did it. When you're in this vicious cycle of just react, fight day and night, it just you end up in nowhere, you know. I remember living these moments of hate, fear, anger. It was like going through a tunnel, dark tunnel, blind. And the only way to get out of it, you have to go through it. You have to feel it. You have to live it and to understand how dark, how bad, how it is, how affect you. In 2010, you know, I sat with myself. I said, do I want to spend the rest of my life like that? No, I was afraid of that. Then the answer was, I need to educate myself. Education was the key. So I started reading a lot, learning English. I would spend maybe 8 to 10 hours every single day learning English. Alhamdulillah, you know, I managed to learn, as you see now. So writing, art, singing, dance help us a lot. You know, the friendship, brotherhood. And there was also the friendship between the detainees and the guards. You know, there's a lot of guards who were victims of Guantanamo. When they come to the truth, some of them sympathize, some of them, you know, apologize. And that detainee specifically, he's a poet. He had a girlfriend, one of the guards. They fell in love with each other. I swear by my God, that's not a make-up story. So I went to him, I said, I mean, because you know that feeling you have also being want to love and be loved. One of the things that we also crave, especially at that age. I said, like, Tawfiq, can you explain to me? He said, look, Habibi, Guantanamo doesn't, love does not play by our rules. So she was kicked of Guantanamo because they were loving each other. Now he's free. Sorry, let it this. Sorry, guys. I tried to give you the best experience. Okay.
No, thank you very much, Mansoor, for sharing your story and your experience.
To kick me off.
No, no, no. Well, we are now going to open the floor for questions from the audience. I will bring the microphone to anyone who wants to ask a question to Mansoor.
This is your chance, guys. I'm leaving now.
Hi. So there's still 15 detainees that are in Guantanamo today. And I'm just wondering, like, only 3 of them have military charges. So I'm just wondering if you have any insight into why they refuse to release the other 12 detainees that have no charges.
Yeah, there are 15 detainees remain there, and they categorize as 3 have been cleared for release, still there, and 3 forever prisoner, including Abu Zubaydah. We need to talk about this case, specific case, because it's important, and 2 convictions. So these even 2 convictions are under plea deals, and 7 others under what they call the military commissions. So just give people I think I know what military commissions is. So the military commissions was created specifically for Guantanamo. When they, in 2006, they brought what's called the high value detainees. These people were tortured in the CIA black sites. They brought them in Guantanamo in 2006. So they cannot try them before U.S. justice system, because these men were tortured badly. Confession was obtained under torture. So if they just go to the United justice system, they won't be able to try them because the confession, the evidence was obtained under the torture. So what they said, they created something called the military commissions, which is a system like a court. It's not a court, which allows the government to use torture, confession under torture, evidence obtained by torture, and classified evidence. So basically, they could come to you and say, hey, we have this evidence against you, but we cannot tell you. Even your lawyer cannot have access to that. So they have been working for years with these 7 for a plea deal. Means we are going to take the death penalty and you accept the plea deal, which is those people said yes last year, and the deal was they would keep them in Guantanamo and they would give them some kind of certain rights, and the people will accept the plea deal. But when the deal was announced in the media, United States was criticized and some criticism from the Republicans. So the deal was taken off the table. Now they start from the first square. There's no plea deals, and they cannot take these prisoners to Guantanamo. First of all, the Congress banned the government from taking one in the United States. Secondly, if they took them to the United States, they cannot try them. Under the federal law, they would have certain rights. So it's a big mess. So the forever prisoners, which is Abu Zubaydah. Abu Zubaydah, can you? Yeah. So it's one of the cases I need to talk about it. So Abu Zubaydah. So please, I need you to read this this report, also published by Seton Hall University. Abu Zubaydah was handed by Pakistani government to the CIA. When they captured him, they said he was Al-Qaeda jewel. He was head of operation, Osama bin Laden right hand. And remember the torture program, the enhanced interrogation technique, or the torture program, was developed on Abu Zubaydah. You can see the paintings here. And if you do you have internet here? Can you Google Abu Zubaydah? Just Google Abu Zubaydah. You see the name? Yeah. So if you look at how Abu Zubaydah painted the way he was tortured by the CIA for years, listen to this now, after 15 years, they said Abu Zubaydah is not a terrorist, is not Al-Qaeda, and has connection to terrorism. And now they classified him as the forever prisoner. Mean he's not going to be released. He is not going to be, can you type here, The Guardian? And they said he's not going to be released. He's not going to try. The United Nations said they don't want to release him because what they have done to him. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of it's graphic, and you guys, if anyone who like, please, if you cannot, if you have, so I'm just going to walk you through that, and you can read it later. But I will give you just a small window what the enhanced interrogation techniques looks like. Yeah. No, just trust me in this. So you see, this is the waterboarding, as you can see, and they said this is not torture. And here, again, this is like a coffin where they fill it with water. You can read later about that. I need you to look at it to see this is what's called the enhanced interrogation technique. Imagine that for months and years and years. So I went through this too. So I will stop here because this is too much. So Abu Zubaydah is the most tortured prisoner in the CIA and FBI history. And please read his story to understand the torture program, why we call it Guantanamo, the biggest cases, one of the most secret prisons, one of the most expensive one, and so on. Yeah, second question.
Also online, if you have any question, you can write them in the chat.
Oh, not yet, unfortunately, alhamdulillah.
Are you allowed, let's say, to return back home?
You know, when I was in Guantanamo, the Congress banned from releasing detainees to Yemen, Afghanistan, Somalia, and I think Libya. So the reason I was sent to Serbia, when they come to release me to Serbia, honestly, I refused. Anyone from Serbia here? Yeah, so I love Serbia though. So when they come to release me, I refused to go to Serbia because the country I know nothing about. And people said like, don't go there, it's not good, and so on. It's Eastern Europe. I said, no, I'm not going. They came, they dragged my ass, they put me in the chair in the force feeding. Sorry for this. It's still the remain of Guantanamo. And they flew me to Serbia against my will. So in Serbia, I wasn't allowed. I spent almost years without legal status, and under surveillance. And don't want to say much because I need to go back to Serbia again. And yeah, I mean, life after Guantanamo, we're going to talk about a little. Are we going to talk about life after Guantanamo? So it's a little. I'm working on life after Guantanamo and so on. And I went on hunger strike twice. I was arrested. That's just me. I'm not the worst case, but the worst case is I'm working on now where people sentenced to death, where people died because there was no medical care and so on. Alhamdulillah, now I live in Serbia, but family visits is really hard and difficult. For now, I am being blacklisted in a few countries, which I cannot travel to those countries. My family is, in order to get a visa, they need to travel to these countries to travel. And the situation in Yemen, as you the war and so on, where my family live, the passports are not recognized by some countries because they issued by the Houthi militia and so on. So I cannot go back now because I am blacklisted by the Houthi, by the United Arab Emirates, by the Saudis. It's just for activism, what I did, because talking about some cases, talking about the torture, about the abuses and so on. So yeah, the mission hasn't finished yet. But alhamdulillah, you know, I am happy I'm doing this kind of work, and there is always a price you have to pay. Yeah, but inshallah soon. Now we are trying to, I'm not gonna say much, but there is some kind of work, and I will let you know. But you will read it. And marketing guys in the next book, Life After Guantanamo.
Sorry, can I add something about that life after Guantanamo? Also, we wish you all the best with your current
Oh yeah.
situation. And would you like to share something more to wrap up about your activism, your everyday life, and also if the post Guantanamo measures are somehow shaping your daily life now in
So,
Serbia?
you know, Life After Guantanamo, Guantanamo is not the worst place. But being tortured and abused and grow up in Guantanamo, one of the a question that shocked me, I think 2 or 3 years ago, when someone asked me, how did you spend your 20s? I was like, what? I never thought about it. I do remember I lived through 20s, really. So when you're being released from Guantanamo, there was no rehabilitation, no integration program. There was no therapy, nothing. Your case is being handled by the police, by the Secret Service, and the stigma. Even for the worst stigma is not in Western country, in Muslim countries, in Arab countries are the worst stigma. You know, the work I do now, if I do this in a Muslim country or Arab country, I would be either dead or disappeared in some places. So in 2016, when I started, there was no much work about Guantanamo. So I started again, the big mouth, the crazy, started doing something, communicating what's going on, people in Guantanamo. Plus, the last moment from Guantanamo, the people, the brothers there, they told me, please don't forget us here. And which shows that to be the title of the book, Don't Forget Us Here. So I started doing my own, like on Facebook, in Twitter, putting a black bag in my head, close Guantanamo, writing tweets. Then I had a lot of support from friends in the United States, which is lawyers, Khadija, one of them too, and professors, activists, and so on. Some of them, and I met until today people who's actually, when they meet you, they still suspect you, they still doubt you, which is okay. I mean, this was going to happen. In 2017, I published my first article in the New York Times. In the second article, then I came to know my editor, Antonio. We start working the book, publishing the book. And, I really work hard. I needed to finish my college education really hard because when I left Yemen, I left for that reason. The first time do you know St. Guantanamo University? St. Guantanamo. So basically, I enrolled in that university. They welcomed me. My lawyer came from the United States, and they said, we'll take him. And my lawyer, she's like, I can pay for your college. She said, I promise you. The first day, wallahi, I went there. I carry my backpack, I have my sandwich, I have my notebooks, I have my index. And someone called me, Mansoor, we need to talk to you. I said, okay. They said, the faculty dean want to talk to you. I said, okay. I went there. There were 2 people meeting for me. And they said, look, we are sorry you cannot study in our faculty. I said, why? I said, you know who you are. Wallahi, I just threw my head like that. I cried. I was crying. I said, please don't do this. Yeah, la, 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 la. And I left the faculty, walked home, wallahi, crying. Then problems. I told my lawyer, I'm not staying here. And also problems with the government. And I told them, look, I didn't come here to cause any trouble. Either send me a place where I can live like a free person and study, or send back to Guantanamo. Anyway, with the work with my lawyer, we found a new university. It's called Faculty of Engineering Management. Alhamdulillah, they took me. I wanted to study computer science, like IT. That was what I wanted to do. So I went to the faculty. They said, okay, you are welcome, the faculty dean. Anyway, fast forward, alhamdulillah, in 2021, I finished my bachelor degree in management. And my thesis was about rehabilitation and reintegration of former Guantanamo detainees into social life and labor market. In my graduation day, there was no family, there was no one there, only my professors and my one of my students. And my mentor, Brankitsa, one of my professors, she was crying that day. And she said, Mansoor, the first day you came, I was afraid. I was terrified because the government told them this guy's dangerous. Stay away. Don't give address, anything. We lived with them 4 years, together. The faculty dean, he was like brother to me. And he said, are we going to have a terrorist? He was walking. He said, I was walking and said, tick tock, meaning like when a bomb going to off, like making jokes. So like they were afraid because what they were told by the government and the Guantanamo stigma, those people, the worst terrorists and so on. And my professor told me the first day I was expecting a guy because she never saw me. When she came the first day, I came early and I was waiting, like carrying my backpack, like, oh, good morning, good morning. She didn't know I was the same person. Then I went to the classroom. Are you Mansoor? I said, yeah. Like, I was confused. I mean, it shows how the stigma and people what they told you the Federati. Alhamdulillah. Now I will defense my thesis soon, which is about closing Guantanamo. It's in project management. And my next study will be here, inshallah, with you guys. So based on my thesis, we started a program called Guantanamo Survivors Fund. That was recommendation in my thesis, which I said there was no rehabilitation and integration program. And I suggested that I send my thesis to my lawyer and some professors. We started that program. Now we have raised around $190,000. We have supported around $50,000. And last month we got fund from the United Nations for victims of torture. They recognize us, alhamdulillah. And one of the cases I'm proud of, there was some detainee who, two of them, sentenced to death in Saudi Arabia. One of them actually criticized the regime. Through the work, we managed to free one of them, and we are working on the second case. And I work now with lawyers, with the helping former Guantanamo detainees, and work on Guantanamo and helping other cases. I work with the hunger strikers and so on. So this is the journey. So I joined CAGE. It's advocacy NGO based in the UK that give me a lot of support, platform, voice, and I work with Amnesty International, and we have also Guantanamo Coalition to work toward the closure of Guantanamo. And I'm here today on the mission, like the same thing, to campaigning for close Guantanamo and raising awareness and so on.
Thank you very, very much, Mansoor, for today, for sharing your story with us. We are very thankful. If there are no other questions,
Yeah,
I think.
sorry. There is a question from someone online.
Okay.
I'll read it so that you can reply. Someone is saying, I want to express my deepest respect and condolences to the survivor of Guantanamo present here today. Your experience is a powerful reminder of how detention without justice destroys lives. As we listen to your story, I also want to gently draw attention to another ongoing tragedy, the enforced disappearance of Balochistan, province of Pakistan, where countless families record without no explanation and no closure. Your survival encourages to speak for all of us who remain unheard.
Thank you, Sarah. I saw we take this one
Another
last
question?
question because I see that it is a bit late.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mine is not a question. It's just a thank you, Mansoor. I had a pleasure to work with you on the podcast. So just like a bit of promotion. If you would like to hear more from Mansoor, in the upcoming months, we got a podcast to the Right House about the music and human rights, where we talk about the music as an instrument of torture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Before we close, I just wanted to thank everyone that helped make possible this event. I want to thank our professor. I want to thank the human rights staff that today stayed until late to support this event. And also I want to thank our colleagues online, Julia and Andrea. Even though they are not in Padua anymore, they keep supporting us and they keep contributing to advocacy's work, and we are really grateful. And yeah.
And I will leave you with a very, very friendly reminder to be back here on Monday, because we have another planned event and we will finally have a discussion about Sudan with 4 very, very, very strong guests. And can I say this? It will be also our first all-female event, all women. So we're very proud. Sorry. And we have an amazing lineup, and I really hope you can join. You can find already all of the information online on the Human Rights Center website and on our Instagram page. And I also want to remind you, all of these students or fresh alumni, that if you want to join the Advocacy Hub, please just DM us or stop us here, or I don't know, get in contact with us. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mansoor. We had a great time. And if you have questions, maybe we'll stay outside here for a few chit chat. And yes.
Also, as you can see, we unfortunately do not have Mansoor's book here with us today because we had some problems at customs, and we are very sorry for that. But we have all of your emails where you received the Zoom link and the reminder for today. So we're going to reach out to you and ask if you are interested in having the book. Obviously, we're going to...
Well, basically, he already paid for them. Please. But you will get them with discount. You know, we try to give you honestly, 50% discount, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Get a copy, it's 50% discount. How much, right? How much the copy? 10 euros? 20 euros each, yeah? So yeah, it was 30 euros in the United States, $30. Yeah, it's not 50, just I changed my... Sorry.
We will send you the details email. Thank you, everyone.